are important to me. Type in the chat, yes, I know, and we will know that that we can have a quick little a little jig here. Everyone knows this song. All parties need some good dance music. All right. Welcome, Nancy and Kim. Good to see you. Lisa, another beautiful soul. All right, let's get this party going. All right. Woo! Oh, very cool. All right. Okay. Okay, guys, so welcome. My name is Roxanne Harris. I am the author of Audaciously Alive. Super excited. This has been just an amazing season where I got to create this beautiful masterpiece and really just share my heart with everyone. What we're going to do tonight, I hope to be done in an hour. And we want to just introduce the book, why Audaciously Alive, read a little bit. We're going to have hear from my book launch team and endorsers, their favorite thoughts and moments. I'm going to share with you some of the cool little quotes that I like throughout the book. It was really hard to choose because I like them all. We are going to do an incantation together to help us get in a right mindset and go from here feeling inspired, empowered, and encouraged to live audaciously well. And we're going to do some giveaways. We had some people that were commenting on social media, and for all of you that are here as well, we're going to take a look at what's next and look at how you can keep in touch. So this is one of the ways that I start. And please make this informal, right? Like if you have questions or things to say, we really want to hear from you because this is exciting. And if we were in person, we'd all be chatting around some good food and maybe a glass of wine or some nice sparkling water. But I say in the introduction that I'm not sharing the life lessons I've gleaned along the way. It's a sad story of struggle and pain, but as a story of a woman who rose out of the ashes of debilitating diagnosis, refused to get in a wheelchair, and took control of her life by sheer grit and tenacity with the resolve of reconstructing, recreating, remodeling what it means to have the audacity to fully engage with my wellness and live well on purpose. Because my life matters, because this is not a dress rehearsal, because I do want to lay it all down and leave nothing on the table, because God's promise is abundant life. I want to and I will live audaciously well every day. And one of the things I want to share with that and why it's so important is because I didn't tell people what was going on in my life for that whole journey. I kept that very much to myself. And even some of my friends that I'm very, very close with have shared with me and said, I never knew that. And the reason I didn't is because I had a tenacity and a mindset that I was not my diagnosis. My book is actually not written for everyone. My book is written for women. My book is primarily written for women that have a faith and for women that are struggling with some type of a chronic disease, whether it's an autoimmune, just longstanding pain, something mentally emotional, but that things are not as lovely as you had hoped that they would be. And part of the reason behind this story is there is a lot of stuff, a lot of junk that goes on in our lives when we have day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year of suffering, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and things start to break down. And what I discovered over my journey is that we as women do not have the supports necessary from our healthcare system, from our families, and often from our friends, in order to choose a mindset that says, I'm going to live and I'm going to live well. I am not going to become this illness. I'm not going to become this pain. I'm not going to become this depression. I'm going to choose to live audaciously alive. Because along the way, I had a lot of people who told me, but Roxanne, we don't understand why you won't just get in the wheelchair. Like, that would be so much easier for you, right? I talk about a section in my book about teaching a class and a woman ridiculing me and just calling me out in the middle of the class, for the love of God, would you just sit down? Because the way my body was misshapen and malformed distressed her. And she didn't want to look at that anymore. And I tell that story not to embarrass her or belittle her in any way, but for women that aren't struggling and wrestling, it's hard for us to imagine what they do go through on a day-to-day basis. There is a lot of adult bullying that goes on. And what I found was that sometimes when we share our intention to live well, to up-level our life, to create something beautiful, not everyone is receptive, and it kind of pulls us back down into the diagnosis or the debilitation or the pain or the depression, rather than helping us keep us at that high-level mindset. The Bible says that iron sharpens iron, and so I chose to hang around with people, with women that were strong warriors of faith. I chose to surround myself with healthcare providers that believed that healing was possible and that I did not need a life of pain. And so this story is really for all of you. If there's some little glimpse in this book that can help you to live well. And by living well, I mean, healthy, right? But I also mean to live well in all areas where you can wake up with joy and hope and peace, with a sound mind, that you can lay your head at night also with joy and hope and peace and a sound mind, knowing that you laid it all out, that there's nothing else there, because we are not promised tomorrow. We are promised today when we wake up and we realize that we're breathing. It's an amazing day. And so we want to be able to have the mindset that carries us through, that regardless of what the doctor says, what the x-ray says, what the circumstance or is happening in your relationship goes on throughout the day, that you can still live audaciously alive and show up as the best version of yourself. Because far too many women wear a mask in every different situation to try and fit in, to hide, to be like everyone else, to be liked by everyone else. And the reality is, you can only be you. You have to show up authentically as yourself, because that's who you were created to be. And we live outside of that, it moves us away from pleasure and takes us into pain. So I want to introduce my fantabulous book endorsers. You'll find their endorsements on the back of my book. Jenny Bittner, Yetta Decker, Scott McCain, and Kelly Warren Oji. Thank you so much for your amazing work and for agreeing to read my book in such a tight timeline, and for writing beautiful reviews. It meant so much. And then I have this amazing book launch team who got an advance copy of my book to read it, kind of let me know their thoughts and opinions, do some reviews online, help get some excitement around. So I really want to thank Yetta Decker, Sarah Dubois, Natalie Gayon, Jeannie McMurray, Robin Parr, Marianne Sheldrick, Lisa Pate, and Ruth Prince. And we're going to hear from them right now. Oh, also Pam Macy. Did I say her? I didn't. Oh, Pam, I'm so sorry. I have to add you. And so I want to hear from all of these beautiful souls, and we'll mix it up a little bit and take a couple of breaks in between. But I want to start off with asking them, why Audaciously Alive? What did you get out of it? How would you inspire or encourage other people? And I don't know. Is Pam even online? Let me see if I can find her. There she is, because I'm so sorry I missed you. I'm going to bring her to the front and welcome everyone. Pam.
Hi.
Hey.
Thank you. And don't worry about this. I have this Zoom thing pop up here. What a fun ride. What a eye-opening ride. As someone who knows you, I'm one of those that said I didn't know, like some of the things I didn't know to the degree you had shared with me. What my biggest takeaways were just to go side by side with you as you go through the things that you did, and just the reliving those scenarios with the people, just how gut-wrenchingly painful that must have been. I wasn't there, but just how raw and how transparent you write, and just how you are just not holding anything back, of just being so out there with your feelings and vulnerability, of just sharing those things, just the pain, the emotional, mental pain. I knew about your physical pain, but even that was, again, described into a different degree and over different multiple times in scenarios and years. It was just a compounded, heartfelt, oh my goodness, I didn't know. And I kept seeing you on the other side. I know you as, nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to go, nothing's going to stop me. Like, just in general, not as in like, just, there is, you do have that love in there of like, okay, very loving and everything. But when you have your mindset to something, I know. And so I knew about the, no, I'm not getting in the wheelchair, but the degree to what you went through, and just even, as a mom, as a wife, when you described the days over and over that you just got up, got your shower, did your hair, and did your makeup, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know if I would have gotten out of bed for a little bit. And never mind, get the shower, do the makeup, do the hair. So you just helped me raise my bar, because somebody always has it easier and somebody always has it more difficult. So we can never sit there and say, oh, woe is me or whatever. But at the same time, it's really helpful to live through somebody else's journey and what they've gone through, so that I can help me readjust. Oh my goodness, yes, and just appreciate the things that I've had go well for me, because we've all had our own challenges. But yeah, it was just, I really appreciated that it costs something to go back, recollect, and then journal out loud in a book, to do that. So I really appreciate and respect that you did that, and that it's something where I feel like it's that touchstone for people to be inspired. If you can come out of that and still be like, I am still getting up and I am not getting in the wheelchair, and just do what you did through all that pain. That was one of the big things that stuck with me.
And thank you for sharing that. And I will say with that, the reason that I chose to do that is because I wanted to show up as myself. I wanted to show up for my husband, and it was something I could control. At that point, I couldn't control the pain. I couldn't control the diagnosis and what was happening, but I could control that I showed up every day. Right. And I think, as women, sometimes we forget that, especially, now that people go to Walmart, in their pajamas and their slippers, because it's just, it's too easy. It's not easy to get up and do your hair and your makeup every day when you feel like you're literally going to die and you can't even hold the blow dryer. Right. So thank you for sharing that, because it was something that was very important to me. And people do laugh at me, just so you know, because even if I'm going to go to the barn, I do my hair and my makeup. Right. So because I want to always show up as me. And yeah, thank you so much, Pam. And thank you for being a part of this.
My pleasure.
And
thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to hear from Gudla. Gudla, I've known you for so many years, and you are one of my dearest, sweetest, most beautiful friends, and we've had quite a journey together. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Oh, wow, I have to hook myself in right with Pam, because I knew part of your story. I was very much aware of the pain you must have been going through. We actually never really talked outright about it, because when we were sitting in your office, I only saw your smiling, energetic, and no bullshit kind of attitude. Your attitude alone for never give up and don't believe a word a doctor says until you can prove it's actually going to work. You know, always this fact check everything. That's what always got me in our consultations or in our conversations. And in your book, you brought that out, and I was laughing, I was crying, I was raging, and I was loving with you. That it was absolutely fantastic. So it touched me as well, very much on an emotional side, even if you're saying that this is not what you wanted to get out of it, but it actually is a reminder for me. It's a reminder on where I have been before and where I still have to go. Like when you were talking about the faith healer, about your trust in God, and we always talked about it, that I had some difficulties there because of my upbringing. I always got, okay, good. So when you gave those little examples, what are those little things in life that points you towards God's influence? And I'm like, Gudla, you're so dumb. A dumb moment. And so, yeah, this is what I got presented again with your book. You showed again something that was already within me that I needed to work on some more. So for that, I thank you.
You are so welcome, and thank you for being on this journey with me. It's been an awesome ride, and I value your friendship immensely. Thank you so much. Marianne Sheldrick. Marianne's been part of the book launch team, and Marianne, just wave because you have a guest with you as well. And so Marianne was actually my first mentor ever. And Marianne, you were with me in the thick of it. You were with me when the pain was more than I could. And share your thoughts, because I know that a lot of that was probably review for you, right? But share your thoughts about reading it. And
Yeah, a lot of it was review, but there were still components of it that I did not know, but I just wanted to start with a quote from Maya Angelou, that each time a woman stands up for herself, she stands up for all women. Wow. And that's what you've done with your book today, that your book that you wrote, that you've stood up for all women, because I think sometimes we don't have a voice, or we've lost our voice and we don't know how to find it, and you've given that to us. And so thank you for being so brave, courageous and vulnerable to share your story, because that's not easy. That's not easy to do. I'm sorry for all the people out there that were so rude to you, that, that just, I got so angry about that. It was just like, come on, people, we live in a society that has very low tolerance for people who are sick. And that's very sad. I was reading it, the prayer after chapter 1, I was praying that, and tears were just coming through to my eyes. But the big takeaway for me was, pain is not felt in the body, it's in the mind. I'm like, what the heck? I knew pain was subjective, because I know some people have an easier time, sorry, that's not how it went, have a harder time with pain, and can really, a little bit of pain is too much. And other people like yourself have a lot of pain, and you feel it not as much. You still feel it, but anyway, it was like, I don't know, I feel it in my hips, I feel it in my back, I feel it in my leg, but now you're telling me it's all in my head. So that was a real big takeaway for me. So I need to reframe that. That's really huge for me. So you know, I have shared with you that I've been diagnosed recently with osteoarthritis in my hip, and, you know, trying to manage that, not how the doctor wants me to manage it, because that would be with medication, surgery. I want to manage it, and I'm managing it with a change in the way, in foods that I eat, foods that are more beneficial for this condition, as well as doing my stretches that really help and keep me mobile as well. And
Mhm.
to the point where, you know, I had 2 weeks of pain-free before Christmas. You know, so that to me is exciting. And so that is, so thank you for that. I really appreciate that. So I just want to close with that, you know, big change comes from hundreds of tiny steps which you took, and they all matter. And then here you are today, living audaciously and sharing that with us. And I appreciate that.
Aw, thank you so much. And I love what you shared, because for those of you that haven't yet read my book, I talk about mindset and reframing a lot, because it was something that I really had to master. Because when you wake up in the morning and you literally feel like you've been hit by a semi truck, and you have 4 kids under the age of 5 and that all need your attention, it's a challenge, right? And you know, I would wake up every morning and say, thank you for healing me, Jesus. And there was no proof. In fact, it was worse. But it had to be a mindset that it didn't matter what the doctors said. I am healed. I am healed. I can move. And, you know, I used to have a mantra. It was taken out of the book, but I literally, when I was having challenges walking, I would give myself a pep talk, and I would say, Roxanne, you have been walking since you were less than 1 year old. Body, you know how to walk, you know how to move, right? And so that was really powerful for me, because it helped keep me focused on what I was doing versus wallowing in the reality that, you know, I wasn't able to, at least not normally, what they would say. So thank you so much, Marianne. You're just such a blessing to me, to my life. And I guess I can see you. I want to bring Ruth on the screen. Ruth and I have journeyed together for a little while. And Ruth, we've known each other for, I don't know, like 7 years or something like that. And you also have a history as a nurse, and you also, you know, have some challenges yourself. So I want to know, what did you think? And tell me all. Oh, we got to unmute you though.
Hi, so thank you for having me. As I've shared with you, Roxanne, this book hit me very close to home because our journeys have been very similar. Only I took the opposite path that you did. I gave into the wheelchair for a time, and it wasn't until like the wheelchair was a big thing for me. It was 4 months of not walking, and I gave in. And when you speak about this in the book, the tears flowed. I'm having trouble talking now because the mindset, and I knew about mindset because when I beat cancer years ago, it was mindset. As a nurse, when we see patients that give into that mindset, they die. And they really do. Their life quality just isn't there. And it's about healing, and having a faith in God is a big deal. And that it is a big deal. It's the only deal. And I was speaking with a client friend of mine today, and I said, I still have to deal every day with living in fear of pain, because I am not in pain right now, but I live in fear of it every single day. I don't do the sports things because that fear has a hold of my life. And with the way your book came across of releasing it, we're focusing on the wrong things. One of your quotes on page 111, it says, I was focusing on the wrong things in my life rather than creating my own beautiful life. And people and myself continue to do that every day. I'm healed. I am not in pain. And yet I still live as if I am. And I'll tell you, the tears that flowed when I was reading this, and realizing that living in fear is the worst thing I can do, because I don't have that fear. And you helped me to release and to give thanks. And Roxanne, your book and your story and your just you inspire me every single day. I love you to the moon and back, but your story just hit my heart so intensely on helping other women. And that's exactly what you've done. You've taken this book and you've helped other women, and you're loved. And I'm turning my mic off.
Aw, thank you. And I love you so much. And I've heard from a number of ladies that have read the book that have had some type of struggle, whether it's physical, cancer, autoimmune, mentally, emotional. And, you know, they're saying the same thing, right? Like that it's telling their story, that they see themselves in the words, and they're already looking at how they can reframe, reassess, move forward, let it go. And just your stories just touched me so much, because for me, it was a real gamble to write a book with just being so open and being truly me, and just, this is how I see things. And I have to tell everyone that, you know, my editors were not impressed. They were like, you're too harsh, you're too direct, you know, this is going to upset people. I'm like, but here's the reality. If they want to live well, if they want to choose to live audaciously well, to whatever, get off your medication or start exercising again, or things that you haven't done in a long time, it has to be stronger, because the messages that they've been getting for the last 2, 20, 40 years has not caused them to do anything different than what they're doing right now. So thank you for sharing that, Ruth. I love you so much. And thank you for being a part of my team. And Yetta, I can see you. Yetta is a dear, dear friend. We have journeyed together. We've done the work, we've done the hard stuff, we've eaten all the green stuff and green drinks and weird, like anything that's weird in health and wellness. Yet and I, yeah, we've done it. So share your thoughts.
I think for me, the bottom line is it was a lot of where we'd already been together, because we had journeyed so closely. I mean, it's been a 20-year journey and we've been in some of the nastiest places. So what I saw in the book was more a sense of hope for people, a sense of that what you believe, it's not that it's going to change everything. You may not get exactly what you believe to be, but your belief will change enough that it really changes everything. And so that belief piece was just highlighted once again. And it sounds like a cliche. We say, believe it and it will be, you know, you can achieve it. It's not quite like that. It's like, believe it and then take the action consistently, because what I have learned both in your book and in journeying with you is that if we believe it, we're actually going to do something about it.
Yeah.
We'll take that little life step, that little teeny thing consistently over time. And if we don't believe it, we might do it once, we might do it twice, but it's not going to have lasting change, because our belief is going to pull us back to where we are. So when you spend a lot of time on mindset and belief in the book, without it, yeah, there's lots of hard stories and people will be able to see themselves in it. But if you're not going to challenge your belief, it's not going to do it for you, because it's our belief that changes everything. And then allowing yourself, Roxanne, I love how you allow yourself to do life your way, on your terms, not on somebody else's. Yes, being led by God. And I think without that, it's that much harder, way, 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 way harder. And yet you can't make a consistent change if you don't go to the belief. So I just keep reading belief, every word of the book. That's just my one word. Like, I've been praying about, what am I going to say? What does it really matter? Bottom line is, address your belief system, and you can really tell what your belief is by what you're willing to do consistently.
Yes.
Right? Like, if the tongue in my mouth doesn't align with the tongue in my shoe, I've got to struggle with belief. So it's really that, I mean, it sounds so simple to say, and it's not that easy to do, but it's certainly simple to do.
Yeah.
Because as you said in your book, it's those little itsy bitsy consistent shifts that shift everything. And it starts and ends with belief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
So thank you for that. I think there's real encouragement for people to just pick one thing. Pick one thing, because you can pick another one after you nail that one. And I love that it's systematic.
Yeah, and I give lots of little, tips and things that audacious action steps that you can just pick one, do one for like a month.
Until you have it, until you know your belief is in alignment, then move on to the next.
Yeah.
So that would be my thing that I took away from your book that I think really is the game changer for people.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Love you. Love you so much. Thank you. Natalie, you're right in my vision. Welcome. Thank you so much for being a part of my book launch team. And what's really neat about Natalie is we don't know each other that well. We're mostly kind of online friends, but Natalie has this amazing ability to, just tap into women and support women, health and wellness and all this stuff. So welcome, Natalie, and thank you.
So happy to be here. I loved your book. I loved how powerful your mindset was and how you described it. There's a moment in the book that really took my breath away. It was when you went to see the surgeon regarding your hips and what a struggle it was, but you did not give up. You walked into his office, but it was a struggle. And he looked at your x-ray and said, "It is impossible that you walked into my office."
Yeah.
And in the book you said, "I didn't know that it was impossible, so I just did it." And I mean, that was such a powerful lesson for me because it really shows the power of the mind over the body. That was brilliant. I love that. I loved the questions that you asked throughout the book. I loved how you dripped in all of this wonderful advice. I love that. And I loved how you thought outside of the box a lot of time as you built up your team. I learned so much. So I really looked at it through the lens of a wellness practitioner of several decades. And a couple of things that really stood out. I loved your story with essential oils and how miraculous that was. I loved how you talked about your osteopath. There was so much richness there and takeaway messages. The biggest message for me was when one of your practitioners made an assumption about your quality of life. That really hit me. And it's so important for me as a practitioner to really pay attention to that, because you said, had she asked me, I would have told her how such a rich quality of life on so many levels. I love that. You consistently talked about that you were not your diagnosis. And I think for those of us that have issues, sometimes that's how we see ourselves. And when we're looking at clients, sometimes we'll think about the diagnosis first. And what came through that your book so strongly was we are so much more complex than that. So I thought that was beautiful. I love the power of words. My background, I'm a speech pathologist, and you chose a word like audacious. And I feel that because you anchored in that word. I mean, I don't know. You picked the best word. You showed up as that. And do you feel, Roxanne, that choosing words like audacious elevated your vibration? It was like kind of like your shining star, North Star. I mean, I just love even the choice of your word audacious. It's so bold.
Yes, and I am actually in part thanks to Yetta. Yetta is a word connoisseur, and no small chat, choose a word, right? Have a life word, have a year word, but it has to have meaning behind it. And, if I would have just said, well, I want to live a good life. Well, everyone's living a good life, right? I want to live an audacious life. I want to do things that they told me were impossible, right? I want to show up and actually live. I don't want to die and stand before God and be like, oh, yeah, no, never did that. No, didn't use that strength, didn't use that gift, didn't use that. So thank you.
You personified this idea that our life moves in the direction of our strongest thoughts. And so you were so consistent in how you showed up that way. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And you know, the first comment about the showers, that really like hit home, because how many times when I don't have the energy, I'm just like, oh, I won't shower today. You really elevated the bar for a lot of us. I thought that was so good. And it was just so beautiful. It was very real. And there were so many insightful moments. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You
And
have
thank you.
all 5-star ratings on Amazon. So
Well, thank you for sharing that. And it's really important for me to see how other wellness practitioners see it as well, right? And, you know, how it fits into their clientele. And yeah, so that was brilliant. Thank you so much, Natalie. I really value you and love you. And thank you for being a part of this.
congratulations again.
Thank you. Who can I see? Oh, I want to see Lisa, because you're right there. Beautiful, Lisa, my gorgeous friend, colleague, woman extraordinaire. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for asking me to read your book. Ever since I heard you were writing one, I was anxiously waiting to read it. And I just got my copy in the mail too on my way as I rushed in the door today. I mean, I could agree with everything that has been said already, Roxanne. I've known you for what, 5 years? Somewhere in that vicinity. Yeah. And you immediately took me under your wing and have been a mentor to me in so many ways. And I love learning from you. And I know that God put you in my life for a reason. And I just continue to learn. And I mean, there is so many takeaways from this book. I have sticky notes all over my desk with quotes that you said, like one-liners. There's so many one-liners that you could just take and apply to so many different things. I remember about just over a year ago, and I sat in your office and in Ottawa, just outside of Ottawa, and you said to me that you were just choosing to fade away into the background, quietly fade away and just disappear. And that is exactly what I was doing. And like some of the things that I wrote down was like, wear your own crown, stop making yourself the villain in your own story and make yourself the queen, right? Wear the crown that you're meant to wear. You know, that your past doesn't define you. The meaning that you give your traumatic and pleasurable events is what defines you and directs your life. Mm-hmm. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. That really resonated with me. And I saw so much of my own life in so many different ways, whether it be a relationship with somebody in my family, whether it even be with one of my kids, you know, with the diagnosis maybe that they have. And it's like, no, that's not who you are. So there's just, like I said, there's so many nuggets in this book. Like, I'm excited to have the hard copy and be able to start it from the beginning. This is a book that I will go over and over, and I'm going to write in it and map things out and earmark it. And like, it's, when I know you said it's written primarily for women and women of faith, I want to share stuff with my kids. Yeah. About it. You know, I am Samson. We all can be a Samson. We all have to be our own warrior. We all have to rise up and live our life and live it audaciously, tenaciously, with perseverance, run the race that's set out before us with our eye on the prize. Like, there's just so many things here that could apply to so many people. So I thank you for having the audacity to write it. I thank you for being so vulnerable and so bold that you didn't back down with your editors that said, Roxanne, that's too harsh. Your story had to be told. It had to be told in the way that you wrote it, because it has to be something that inspires people to go, get up, get moving. This isn't a dress rehearsal. If you want change, you have to make it. Your yes has to be a yes. Your no has to be a no. There's like, if you want that change, you can't be in the middle. You can't be lukewarm. You have to be hot or you have to be cold. It's yes, yes, no, no. So, you know, you said wellness is a long-term relationship, not a one-night stand. Like, you laid that out brilliantly. So I guess for me, my takeaway is every day is a new day. We get to wake up. How we're going to frame it, how we're going to choose to live our life. This is just going to be one more way that I can go and go, yeah, Roxanne did this. Like, I'm going to picture you. I hear you in my head. I feel you in my heart. And so I know that this book is going to touch so many people, and it's going to inspire a movement, a wellness movement. It's going to inspire change in some way. It's going to be like that fire spark that's going to get people going. And you all have been promised an abundant life, and you just exemplify that beautifully. So thank you.
Thank you very much. You made me cry, because that's my heart. It's really hard for me to see women that are struggling, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, when, you know, I have an opportunity just to speak life into them with a powerful word. I know that words are just words. However, the meaning that we give to words is crucially important. The power of life and death is in the tongue. We need to choose our words carefully, but we also need to choose the meaning that we're giving to them. Many people look at the word audacious, to go back to Natalie's comment, as a negative trait. Audacious is not a negative trait. We can be bold and strong and courageous, right, in our life. We don't have to roll over and play dead. Women are strong, right? Women are courageous. Women are brave. Women can do hard things. And so to create this beautiful community of women that are pulling each other up onto solid ground, right? And not allowing them to wallow in the muck, but reminding them of who they are, and to straighten their crowns, right? And that we can think better so that we can do better, and that we can be better. And I thank you for sharing that. I think the world of you. You're amazing, and I love you so much. And it's been an awesome journey with you. Thank you for being a part of this, Lisa.
Thank you.
Jeannie, I know that your camera is off because your camera is broken, but Jeannie, you are another amazing part of, I'm just trying to get you here. You are an amazing part of my launch team. You are my sister in like so many ways. We met each other a few years ago at an event, and you are a ball of fun and laughter, and you are one of the most courageous women I know, and that you are all about inspiring women and building women up and love. So tell us your thoughts.
Well, I have a couple of different things. Yes, I am so proud of you. I love the fact, because you are meant to be in my life. God has sent you in my life for so many different reasons. And one of them is to not stand down, to stick up for yourself. I mean, it seems like so many times in the story, you had to stick up for yourself. Like, hey, you didn't even ask me, you just assumed, or different things like that. And so I love that. And I also love the fact that you have given everyone hope. I mean, not only were you not in a wheelchair, but you're walking and dancing and wearing stiletto heels, right? So I love that fact that you say, kick the limiting beliefs to the curb. They do not serve you, they limit you. And I know that we all have our own journey, and every single one of us is dealing with something. And at many times, all of us have felt grotesque and felt like a monster ourselves, and different things. And so I know we all have our own journey, but just to really be that audacious self, to really live life, because like you said, everyone dies, but how are you living? So I just love it. So very proud of you.
Aw, thank you so much. And thank you for being a part of my team. You're amazing and I love you so much.
Love you.
And then I'm going to bring Robin Parr. Robin has known me the longest from all of you. Robin is my youngest sister, and it's an honor and a blessing to have you join us tonight. And if you want to share some thoughts, the mic is yours. I'll just unmute you though first. Oh, you're still muted. Not yet. Not yet. Let me see if I can try and bypass that. Find you in the list here. And we can't hear you. Do you want to, oh, you might just check your mic settings because it might be on a different output on your mic settings. Nope, not yet. Not yet. She's going to get it. She's amazing on the computer. You just have to click on the little arrow beside your mic, and then that should open up some options about where your audio is coming from. Or you can dial in on your phone and use your phone audio. While she's doing that, I will read something for you. So one of the things that's been very powerful for me. Oh, you're there. Can you say something now? Oh. You're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Turn up your volume. So it's some kind of a mic setting, but you are unmuted. So that's the first good sign. So life is happening for me, not to me. So many of us journey through our life and we say that, well, this happened to me. Well, no, it happens for us. And it's part of that reframing in our mindset. So I write this. Sorry that I just licked my fingers. That was so rude. I can't believe I just did this, but okay. I was blessed. I just didn't see it at the time. I'd stopped living because I'd been frozen in fear. The stories we tell ourselves about what happened in our life can propel us toward our destiny or cause us to hide in fear. The stories we tell ourselves about what happened in our life, I just read that, sorry. Stories can limit us or cause us to grow. They cause us to act in irrational ways or become better versions of ourselves. Stories can change the entire trajectory of our life and our ability to give and receive pleasure. The narrative that runs in our mind can have us focusing on fear and pain and cause us to shelter in place, not wanting to live our lives. I wish I'd known these things when I was younger. I would have told the story with me as the warrior heroine rather than the victim. I wonder what my life would have been like if I'd lived as the heroine of my own story. It's hard to assess that, but I know I missed out on a lot of opportunities due to fear, pain, and my need for control. We can't go back and change our experiences or delete the memories from our mind, but we can rewrite the stories in a more powerful way, turning them into life-giving tales with victorious endings that will change the roadmap of our life forever. Rewriting my story has totally changed my life. My outlook is positive. Life is happening for me, not to me. I've come to love a good adventure, and I show up as my true self wherever I go. I am not a victim. I'm a warrior, a heroine, a goddess, and a queen. I am the audacious wellness warrior. I have grabbed my life by the horns, and I will ride it all the way to the end, full of passion, with love, audacity, and joy as my weapons, and dance as my rear guard. I want to lay it all down and leave nothing on the table. I want to exhaust every ounce of love and passion that I was given and pour it out on the world. God's promise is life and that more abundantly. My audacity to live well was birthed out of a choice to be free from pain and to feel more pleasure by living my life, not merely trying to survive. Can we hear you yet? No, but call in on your phones so that we can hear you. While she's calling in, I'm going to share my screen and go through a couple of my favorite quotes because we're coming to the end here. If you go searching for pain, you can always find it. Pleasure is not just a feeling, it's a compass that directs our life. And it's pleasure in all things and in the little things, whether it's waking up and realizing that you're alive for another day, watching a sunset or a sunrise, listening to a baby laugh. You've got that. Hello, Robin.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
My camera's off or on? It telling me it's off.
You're on. You're good.
Okay. I have very, very poor service here. So if I cut out or I'm frozen, let me know. So I'll stop talking.
You're good.
I obviously have known Roxanne for my whole life because she's my older sister. I feel like me and my sister have a very deep connection that goes beyond, maybe what some other sisters have. She's always been there for me. I had some really devastating events happen in my life, and right from when I was very, very young to more recently. And when I read her book, I was surprised. I knew most of it, not all of it. And I guess I kind of felt a little guilty when I was reading. I felt that maybe I should have known more. I feel like sometimes we're so self-absorbed in our own world and our own situations that we fail to see the pain that is running deep in somebody else's life. And, it's humble. I guess I'll eat some humble pie, I guess, because like I said, she's always been there for me. And I was ashamed of myself that I wasn't able to see some of the pain that she was in. She always presented herself as her best face forward and that she was so strong. And I guess maybe that's a lesson that I took out of the book is sometimes when people have these strong and they're strong personalities and they're very outspoken and boisterous, and you just think, wow, that person is totally put together. And sometimes those are the people that need the most love and the most support. So I think that it's important for us to challenge ourselves to ask other women how they're doing, how they're really doing, and do some check-ins, even on your family members, even though you think you know a story or circumstance that's going on. Maybe you need to dig a little bit deeper and be more present in people's lives. And it's interesting because it's kind of my New Year's resolution is to be more present and show up more, put the phone down, those kinds of things. But I really valued the message that came very strongly through the whole message, or through the whole book, the message of being very self-aware, I guess is a good word, self-aware and of feelings, thoughts, processes, where we're at today, progress that we're making tomorrow. Sometimes we slide back, but then you put, your shoes on and you step, forward again. And I think that the workbook that you had on, or little sentences and stuff to encourage us to dig a little bit deeper, write our thoughts and stuff down to challenge ourselves is very important. It makes people very aware of their own situation, where they're at, and also to encourage them to, like I said, dig a little deeper. And it's very important to do those kinds of things, because you can engage more readers, I think, that way than just reading your story. They can think about how the words that they just read pertain and to their lives. And maybe it's not the same story, but everyone can relate to certain parts of it. Or, you know, maybe they relate a little bit more, they have something to add, they can journal that down. So I just think that from front to cover, or front to back, sorry, it was a very interesting read. And yeah, I just am so proud of you for being brave enough to put all that in writing, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot to just lay it all out for the world to see. Love you. I'm so proud of you.
Me too, and thank you so much. She's nice to see, and we'll talk. Love you. Thank you for being a part of it and for reading it in advance, and for sharing your heart. That was really amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Love you.
Love you too. I think we've done everyone, so let's just wrap this party up. Health poverty is one of the greatest epidemics in our society today. We are health poor as a society, and we encourage each other to remain health poor. I would encourage you to get around strong women and healthcare practitioners that can truly help you in whatever way that you desire, that you dream that your life should be like, because it is possible. One of you mentioned this. I was focused on what was wrong with my life rather than creating my own beautiful life. And, you know, I realized this many years ago, and I'm like, no way, man, like I'm going to live this beautiful life on my terms and the way that I want to live life. And this is one of my favorite quotes, and I think it applies to so many women, especially right now in kind of this new year mode, new year, new you. How about new you every day? It's not a new year, new you. It's a new you every day. It's, you know, Yetta saying, take one thing and just implement it until it's so habitual that you can move on to the next. But too many women work out because they hate themselves, not because they love themselves, right? And if we had a different mindset about moving our bodies, and, you know, it's not about what size we are. It's not about what the scale says. It's about, are you healthy? Are you living mobile? It's about health span, not lifespan. You know, can you, you know, go for a 5K walk? Can you, you know, climb a flight of stairs without huffing and puffing or your knees giving out? Can you move your body because you love yourself, right? Movement truly is life. And I was going to do a quick little song, but we're not going to do it because we're running short on time. But know that I love you, and I'm doing all the dances. But, you know, incantations are done when you're doing something physical because it sticks in your mind and it ingrains in your body. I like people to do a nice little Wonder Woman pose or a Superman pose. And instead of saying incantation, I can't do it, I want you to think about incantations. I write about this. It's in my book on page 101. There's a little exercise about looking at all of the qualities that you possess, that you know you possess deep down inside, that are maybe dusty, maybe a little bit dirty, need to be shaken off. But to stand in that Wonder Woman pose or power pose, and to say this out loud over and over every morning, or every time you look in the mirror, whatever you want to say about yourself, but to claim it. And I would really encourage you all to say this with me, because when we say I am, it's very powerful. If you're sitting there saying I am sick and tired, you're going to feel sick and tired. But if we say, and all together, I am beautiful, I am healthy, I am strong, I am radiant, I am confident, I am joyous, I am hope-filled, I am enough, I am more than enough, I totally got this, this is the best day ever, I am audaciously alive, I am fully me. It's a wonderful way to wake up and live our morning. We have some audacious swag. I don't have it with me. It's in the other room. So I'll post some pictures online, but I have some really cool audacious swag for a couple of winners. So for our online viewers, I did this in advance because I didn't know how I was going to do it by herself or by myself. But Brenda Berard, you were the lucky wheel spinner to win an Audaciously Alive swag gift from me. So congratulations to you. And then for the invite a friend, so we had all the names there, and the wheel chose Debbie McIntyre. So congratulations to you. And then as well, I have a final gift away, is what I'm calling it, for those who celebrated with me tonight. So each and every one of you, if you want to have a help consultation with me online or come in person, I'm giving you 20% off. Just let me know that you were on the call with me. But I also will be going through who is here and choosing a random winner for another piece of Audaciously Alive swag. So that's kind of fun. We get to choose the meaning of our life. We can and we must rewrite our story and create our own breathtaking ending. I truly believe that we can do that. It's a matter of that mindset and constantly choosing where you want to go and how you want to show up in your life. So I know that we're running a little bit late, but if anyone has any questions, I do want to do a bit of a Q&A for those that maybe have read it and want to, ask a question, or for those of you that maybe haven't read it and wondering how it might apply in your life. Just wave at me or put it in the chat, put your virtual hand up, and I can answer those questions for you. I don't see anyone yet. Oh, hi, Laura. I didn't see you earlier, but welcome. And Jane and Monica, nice to see you. Hilda, I don't see any hands. Oh, Kim Poirier, absolutely. Come on down, girl. Unmute yourself.
Well, nice to meet you. First of all, I'd like to thank you, Yada, for inviting me.
Absolutely.
I feel like some of these ladies with the comments in your book, it's almost like speaking to me. I don't have a health issue, but I've sort of been grieving for the last little while. First, I lost my husband, and then my dad, and then my kids all messed up. So every day is a struggle sometimes. So, and just to, just get the different perspective in life that, I still feel blessed that I got my health. So I was writing my memoir, which I stopped almost like a year ago. So it almost feel like you're speaking to me, and I feel a little bit pumped right now, and it's like I gotta get my get back on my book. So I am going to try to get your book, and I just can't wait to read it. And hi, Yada. So that's
Thank
it.
you for coming on, Kim, and we're sorry for your loss, and we're all here supporting you and loving you, and reach out if you need anything. We're all here for you.
Yeah.
Bless you. All right. I'm going to wrap it up in about 2 minutes here. I really just wanted to let everyone know, because none of y'all mentioned it, and I was really surprised that you didn't. There's a whole chapter in my book about pleasure and intimacy, and it is crucially important. Guys, I have literally sat with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women who have all told me that they have problems in this area, in their relationships, in their intimacy. And when they have a chronic issue, it's worse, and it's exponentially worse. And so I have a chapter in there about it, because I feel that it is important. And it's not just about sexual intimacy. It really is about just finding pleasure. Again, can you actually stop and smell the roses and actually find and experience pleasure in that? Right? Can you go for a walk and, be enthralled with the sound of birds or a babbling brook, or watching a snowflake? Finding pleasure in the day is really important, and tapping into who we are as feminine beings, right, is really important. So I want to encourage you, don't bypass that chapter, because it's really, really important. Okay. And so I just wanted to say that. What's next for me? going to be back on the kitchen table. So this is a little talk show that I want to bring back because I want to have a number of people like Gudla, for example, and Natalie, Lisa, because they're wellness practitioners, Jeannie on and talking about women, all things women, and having that outlet for you guys to come and listen and share and be a part of. I'm going to be hosting some Audaciously Alive women's retreats. So this has been a desire of my heart for about 20 years, and I'm really excited to launch those. And they will be full immersion retreats where you get to learn to live life well, even in the kitchen and moving the body. I'm going to be doing some in the kitchen episodes, the Audacious Kitchen, because many people keep asking me about how to make things more healthy. The favorite treats that maybe aren't good for them. How can we do that? And then you can check out my new website at roxanneharris.ca for speaking events and other things that I'm doing. Remember to restore your mind, heal your body, and have the audacity to live well. You can keep in touch with me on my official Facebook page. Many of you follow me on my personal page. I do have an official one, roxanneharris.ca. Guys, thank you. Ladies, thank you so much for being a part of this amazing book launch. I love you so much. You mean more to me than you could ever possibly know. And I just invite you, if you feel inspired or encouraged, tell your friends about it. We can get together and do little book studies, but I'm there for you and I want to be a part of your journey. And I love you all. And thanks so much for joining in. So if no one has any other thoughts or questions, I'm going to bid you all adieu and have a beautiful and amazing night. And thanks so much. Oh, I saw a hand. Oh, just a clapping. Thank you, Carol. Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a good night.